Some people return because they miss the past. Others return because the past is no longer safe without them. Welcome back to Silk and Steel Stories. What We Were Told to Be, Chapter 2. She was supposed to become someone else's future. That had been the plan. For 3 years, Lorenzo stayed away from her life with deliberate cruelty toward himself. He watched from distances she never noticed. Removed problems before they reached her. Read reports containing her name and closed them quickly afterward, as if restraint alone could erase memory. Because Lina deserved peace. And peace had never existed near him. When Omar Hussein's proposal arrived 8 months ago, Lorenzo had done nothing. That had surprised even his own men. A respectable family. Clean business. No underground ties. No blood hidden beneath reputation. Omar could give her safety in a way Lorenzo never could. So he stepped back. Again. And this time, he had intended to stay gone permanently. Until the engagement changed everything. Until powerful men began paying attention to the Mirzai family again. Until old enemies saw opportunity where marriage was supposed to bring stability. Now Lina was no longer simply Karim Mirzai's daughter. She was leverage. And in Lorenzo's world, women like Lina were never targeted because they were weak. They were targeted because powerful men loved them. That made them valuable. The thought alone filled him with a coldness violent enough to silence reason. The corridor ahead remained quiet compared to the rest of the estate. Music echoed faintly from distant rooms. Laughter drifted through the walls. Somewhere downstairs, women clapped along to old Afghan songs while guests moved between gold-lit halls and flower-covered courtyards. But here, stillness waited. Lina stood near the fire archway beneath warm lantern light, one hand resting lightly against her wrist. Composed, elegant, untouchable, the darkened henna along her hands curled delicately around her fingers, intricate patterns winding beneath gold bracelets that reflected soft flashes of light whenever she moved. Her scarf framed her face perfectly now. Controlled again, protected again, as though the girl whose hair had fallen loose yesterday never existed. But Lorenzo remembered, too clearly, and the worst part was, his body still reacted to the memory before his mind could stop it. Then her eyes lifted, and found him immediately. Ian. The name struck somewhere deep enough to feel dangerous. Not Lorenzo. Not the man the world feared now. Ian. The version of himself he buried 3 years ago beside his father's grave. He forced his expression still. Lina. Silence stretched between them carefully. Not awkward. Heavy. Like both of them understood too much already. You shouldn't be here, she said quietly. I know. Then why are you? Because I needed to see for myself that you were still safe. The answer stayed trapped inside him. I got work here as a photographer. The lie sounded smooth enough. Simple. Believable. Lina watched him for a long moment. And suddenly he understood something unpleasant. She no longer looked at him with softness. Only caution. You disappeared, she said. No explanation. No message. Nothing. Every word remained calm. Lina never raised her voice carelessly. She had always understood something most people didn't. Quiet disappointment wounds deeper than anger. And now you return like none of it mattered. It mattered. The answer came too quickly. Too honestly. Something flickered in her eyes at his tone before disappearing again. Not enough. The words settled between them sharply. Lorenzo deserved that. Probably worse. He studied her carefully, noticing things he should not still remember. The way her fingers tightened slightly whenever she was trying not to react emotionally. The way she kept distance without making it obvious. The exhaustion hidden beneath composure. 3 years and he still noticed everything. That was the problem. You're getting married, he said quietly. Yes. To Omar Hussein. A slight crease appeared between her brows. You know him? I know of him. Which was true. Lorenzo knew. Omar's business reputation. His family alliances. The people attempting to move closer through the engagement. The risks quietly forming around the marriage. He's a good man, Lina said. Not defensive. Certain. And somehow that made this harder. I know. Her expression shifted slightly at that answer. Then what exactly is your problem? You. Your name, your family, the attention gathering around you. But instead he said carefully, "You should be more cautious." Immediately, her eyes narrowed. "There it is. What? The real reason you came?" Lorenzo remained silent. Lina folded her arms lightly. "You disappear for 3 years and suddenly return with warnings?" "I'm serious." "So am I." For the first time, something colder entered her voice. "You don't get to walk back into my life carrying secrets and expect trust." Trust. The word landed like punishment. Because once, she had trusted him completely. Enough to wait, enough to believe him when he promised. "I'll come properly. I'll speak to your family." And then he vanished without explanation. Lorenzo looked away briefly. That memory still carried shame. Not because he regretted loving her. Because he never gave her dignity in the ending. Only silence. "I'm not asking for trust," he said quietly. "Then what are you asking for?" "Nothing. Everything." He exhaled slowly. "Not everyone around this wedding is harmless." Lina's posture stilled slightly. She grew up protected, not naive. "What does that mean?" "It means attention follows powerful families. We're used to that." "No," Lorenzo said softly. "You're used to respectable attention." Something unreadable crossed her expression then. "Careful now. Alert. What happened to you?" she asked quietly. The question caught him off guard. Not because of the words. Because of the sadness beneath them. 3 years ago she looked at him with certainty. Now she looked at him like someone searching for traces of a man she once knew. "You left," she continued softly. "And now you stand here like a stranger." Maybe he was. Lorenzo Vitalio would have terrified the version of Lina who studied languages beside him in Islamabad. That girl believed in careful futures. This man destroyed futures for survival. "I didn't have a choice," he said finally. Lina shook her head once. "That's what people say when they want forgiveness without honesty." The sentence landed perfectly. Clean. Precise. Painful. Somewhere downstairs, laughter rose loudly before fading again. The wedding continued untouched. Beautiful. Temporary. Lina stepped back slightly, restoring distance between them. Her scarf shifted softly as she moved. Instinctively, Lorenzo looked away for half a second while she adjusted it. The motion was automatic. Respect before thought. And Lina noticed. Her expression changed almost imperceptibly. Because despite everything, that part of him remained unchanged. "Ian," she said quietly, "whatever this is, it stopped being my responsibility 3 years ago." "No, it became mine. Forever." The thought came brutally, possessive enough to alarm even him. His mother's voice surfaced immediately inside his mind. "A woman can survive danger, Lorenzo. What destroys her is losing dignity. Not possession. Protection." There was a difference. And he was trying very hard not to lose sight of it. "If something feels wrong," he said quietly, "don't ignore it." Lina stared at him. "This marriage isn't a mistake." "I didn't say it was." "Omar is not dangerous." "No," Lorenzo answered immediately. That answer surprised her. "If he isn't the problem," she said slowly, "then who is?" Everything around him. The world he spent years trying to keep far away from her. But she could never know that. Not yet. Footsteps echoed faintly nearby. Approaching. Time was ending. Lina heard them too. The moment shifted instantly. Closed again. "You shouldn't have come back," she said softly. Maybe she was right. Because seeing her again weakened things that needed to stay cold. And weakness inside his world buried people. He stepped back first. Control. Distance. Discipline. "Take care of yourself, Lina." She didn't answer. Only watched him carefully, like she still could not decide whether he was danger or warning. Lorenzo turned before he could look at her longer. Because if he stayed, he might forget why leaving her once had been necessary. The music grew louder as he returned toward the main hall. Guests moved elegantly beneath chandeliers and gold fabric draped across the ceilings. Men laughed over tea. Families discussed business, politics, marriages. No one noticed the tension moving quietly beneath it all. Near one of the marble pillars stood Matteo. Still, observant, controlled. His father's former right hand. Now his. "You were gone too long," Matteo said quietly. Lorenzo said nothing. Matteo studied him carefully. This is exactly why you shouldn't have come yourself. I handled it. You spoke to her. Yes. That was not necessary. Lorenzo's jaw tightened slightly. Across the hall, Lina's brothers stood near the entrance speaking with guests. Protective. Watchful. Men who would destroy anyone who threatened her. Good men. Matteo followed his gaze. You're hesitating. No. You looked at her like iron. Silence. That silence answered enough. Matteo lowered his voice further. The enemy is getting closer. I know. And if they move sooner than expected? Lorenzo's expression hardened instantly. They won't reach her. The certainty in his voice carried something dangerous beneath it. Matteo watched him carefully for a moment before nodding once. Then Lorenzo said quietly, "Prepare everything." The order landed heavily between them. Final. Matteo's expression didn't change, but both men understood what those two words meant. Because the moment Lina became part of the enemy's plans, nothing about her life was safe anymore.